All right, let's take a look at number 2. So number 2, it says complete the graph of f of x equals x squared by using the table above. So let's fill out the table because I deleted it. It went 16, 25, 36, 49, which eventually made n squared the pattern. Ooh, that's an ugly 49. And now we're going to do a graph. So the independent variable is the step we're on. So on step number 1, zoom in here. On step number 1, there was 1 square. On step number 2, there were 4 squares. Step number 3, there were 9 squares. Just to illustrate, I'm going over the number of squares, and then over the step number, and then up the number of squares. Over the step number, up the number of squares. Over the step number 3, up to 9 squares. 4 was 16, 5 was 25, 6, 36, and 7, 49. Okay. That's all the assignment said to do, but now I want you to work with me to go back and fill in the other side of this graph. So to fill in the other side, we need to put in negative inputs. Now we're not going to draw negative squares, but now that we know the pattern, we can pretty easily get negative outputs. So I want an output for -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. Okay, we know our pattern is f of n equals n squared. I want to start by finding out what happens when I plug -1 into this pattern. So I'm going to say, okay, what does f of -1 equal? Well, it's -1 squared. What's that? Well, squaring means to multiply by itself twice. So that's the same as -1 times -1. What's -1 times -1? Well, a negative times a negative makes a positive, and 1 times 1 makes 1, so that makes +1. If I input -1 into this pattern, I should get out 1. Let's do the same for -2. f of -2 equals -2 squared. That means -2 times -2, and that's +4. A negative times a negative is a positive. 4, 9, 16. You don't have to add that on your worksheet, but I do want you to add those points to our graph. So with me now, add -1, 1. -2 up 4, back 3 up 9, back 4 up 16, -5, the output is 25, -6, the output is 36, and if it was -7, last one up here, the output would be 49. So now that we've got this whole thing done, we could connect the dots and this continuous curve of the function f of x equals x squared is called a parabola. The shape of that curve, just like a linear equation makes a line, a quadratic equation, a squared equation, makes a parabola.